Hello guys, welcome to Animals and Video Games, and today I'm going to be ranking all the movies I saw in 2021 or were released in 2021. I'm sorry I was a little bit late, but that's because I want to cram in all the main movies that I want to see on this list, so it's for the better things. Now let's start ranking them. In very last place, dead last place, we have a weird show into a bad movie, and a weird show, and a weird movie. I thought it was gonna be bad, but not this bad. Usually, I don't give things an F, but for the Loud House movie, I think I can make an exception. This movie started off okay, but then it veered off to a cringe's dumb side of the Loud House, like the show. And I thought it was going to be different. When they went to Ireland, I think it was weird, and Lincoln turns into Duke of a Town. What? And it gets more cringe. And with the story I already don't like, bad move. And the villain isn't good, and it's not all suspenseful, and the character designs hurt. In fact, the whole movie hurts just to watch it. The ending was a flop, and the songs, good gosh. Enough complaining. I give it an F. Second worst movie of of the year is M. Night Shyamalan's Old. Oh my gosh. I don't know about this movie, and I did not know about this movie until it came out. And when I saw it, I thought it was going to be a solid thriller, not boring at the least, but to my surprise, it was hard to watch all at once. I wanted to stop. It was weird. I didn't care about any one of the characters in the movie. It was not scary. I would give it a D. Can't say I was disappointed because I didn't know much about it until I watched it. For the third worst movie of the year, it's Cosmic Sin. Well, while I make this video, I know that he has a speech thing where he can't speak or understand words, and that's kind of sad. And this is his last movie, and no wonder it was pretty bad. So, literally, no one likes this movie because it sucks and it should not be a thing. I mean, the best part of this movie was maybe the 20 minutes they spend in the beginning fighting zombies in the facility, and it's not Bruce Willis's fault either. It's just a bad movie, blood plot, everything. Um, but when they reach the planet, the acting sucks, the story becomes impossible to understand, and the ending was just what? And um, it gets a D. Next up is My Little Pony: New Generation. I do not want to talk about this too much. I have never been a My Little Pony fan and never will. But this movie is so strange, and all you can do is mock this movie, and why that you have never seen this movie is no wonder. And you can listen to the best songs of the whole franchise. This has the best songs, and I don't want to embarrass myself, so I'm probably just gonna move on. But the story is the best, not the best of the franchise. I like my favorite My Little Pony movie is the one with Space Pirates or Sky Pirates. I'm gonna stop because that's weird. Next up is Space Jam 2: A New Legacy. Boy, I was not that excited for this movie, and I must have predicted the future because it was terrible. The Looney Tunes weren't like the original, and I didn't even care for the funniness in the movie, which was the greatness of the original movie, other than LeBron James. Michael Jordan, who was a lot better actor, in my opinion, a better basketball player, and I much more like him, even though my favorite basketball player is probably Larry Bird. Um, Other than Michael Jordan. And LeBron James is nothing compared to basketball on Michael Jordan. And the basketball game in the third half is one of the worst third halves I've ever seen. D plus, very disappointing in the sequel. Next is Escape Room 2, another sequel that I did not care for. I liked the first one. It was one of my favorite modern horror movies. This one is the same thing, but downscaled, but upscaled. So it was downscaled, but it was way upscaled. That's why it was downscaled. If you know what I mean. And not anything to care about and boring. I mean, it's just a meh horror film, which makes me hate it. So I'll give it a D plus. Next up is another horror movie, Saw Spiral. I was never a big Saw fan, only seen the original and this one because lots of people say that this one sucks, and I actually like this one better than the first one. I really like it just because of Chris Rock. He was so funny. It was actually interesting. Some of the traps were really cool. Two, because of the crime scene of the story and or mystery seem really well put, and it's just so different and just an okay horror movie. I'll give it a C minus. Next, we have Candyman 2021. Oh wow, I had to watch the whole Candyman franchise to get to this one movie, and boy, it was not worth it. I saw fake trailers before this movie came out, and the first one was okay. The second one was boring and forgettable, but the ending was okay, and the third one, what the heck? though I do like it better than the second one. And this one, it's better than one and two, but not the original. The original is one that's really boring, but it's such a classic and good movie. I would say all the other Candyman movies don't seem that scary, but for this movie, it has jump scares, better photography, and more scary. One main thing that I don't care about any of the characters or the story, but when Candyman comes in, it is glorious. So Candyman is a C minus, and it is really worth a watch just for anyone that's playing out horror fans. Next is The Girl Who Believed in Miracles. We watched this as soon as we could. We are a Christian family, and this movie had a good story and a heartwarming feeling, but the acting was absolutely terrible. I mean, just watch a clip of this movie, and the decisions they make are stupid. I feel kind of bad for hating this movie, but I don't hate it. It's a C minus just because of how bad the acting were, how unenjoyable it was, but it's such a heartwarming movie. I still recommend a watch, even though it's not very good. I still like it. Next is Extinct. Oh, another Netflix movie. And another random, cringe, dumb movie that we did not ask for. This movie is weird, and they just put a bunch of donut animal puns. Like, look, a whole new adventure. Even the title. And there's a hole. They both have holes. Like the whole entire movie, it's just that. As they don't matter to me. It is so hard to watch. It's so hard to watch this movie. An average person might last like 10 minutes into this movie. The one compliment is it had a good ending. It gets a C minus C. Next up is The Forever Purge. Oh boy, nothing like this movie. Oh boy. Like, no one likes this movie. I think it builds up suspense well. It has a good story, but it's just not a Purge movie. The main thing that gets me is that it has like an 85% daytime during the movie. I don't know, just one of the worst of the franchise. It gets a C. Better than the original, though. Next is Peter Rabbit 2. I was pretty excited for the sequel. I've already made a full review on my YouTube channel, so go check that out. Story sucked. Plot twist sucked. It was still an okay family film, I guess. The father and son thing were terrible. It gets a C. Next is Halloween Kills. I love Halloween. I had to watch the whole entire franchise just for this. With the 2018 movie just being a great horror movie, the trailer of the Halloween Kills looking insane, I thought this was going to be easily a success. Well, I see I was wrong. The characters were mad. The story with the same thing. I just felt that it had many gaps, but still an okay horror movie. I do feel that Halloween Ends won't be much better, and the kills really are just unique and the best, and I really enjoy it. It's just not that good. Michael Myers isn't any good, and usually this is why Halloween 4 is my favorite. It gets a C. Next is Rumble. This movie is one that got moved closer than planned, which is cool, I guess, and it's very overrated. And it did not make me laugh. The only funny part was in the trailer, and I got cut from the movie. I mean, what? It actually made me laugh in the trailer, and then it cut out from the actual movie. The climax is bad. The movie is so predictable, and it was plain. I guess I did like the premise, so I guess a C plus. Next is Sinkhole. I don't know if this is actually the right poster, but I have Yahoo instead of Google for some reason. It just switches randomly, so I got this from Yahoo. All these posters are weird. For some movies, you really can't talk much, and this is one of them. I mean, it has action, bad characters, good natural disaster movie, and the destruction side of things. It gets a C plus. Next up is my least favorite of the Fear Street trilogy, and that is Fear Street Part 2. I cannot care for any of the annoying characters and am not a fan of the end, but one huge thumbs up here is that it's the scariest movie of the franchise and has a good villain. Next up is Fear Street Part 3. This would have been my least favorite of the film Street, but Fear Street, but the end really saved the movie here. I like the first film, and the final half feels like the first one. The reason I hate the beginning half is because I don't like setting in the 1600s horror movie. Any other horror movie like The Pilgrim, The Dark Story, I despise. Gets a C plus. Next is the Tom and Jerry movie. I was pretty excited for this one as a fan of the original Space Jam and Looney Tunes back in action, and Looney Tunes in general, and Tom and Jerry. I thought this movie was going to be at least okay, but it has been barely anything to do with Tom and Jerry. The plot twist weird. It made me laugh twice, so that's good. And I love I cannot remember his name. The guy that wants, guy that smashes the cake. There. So it never knows when to end the movie, and the ending kind of sucks, so it deserves a C plus. Next is Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. I like Zack Snyder. I like Dave Bautista. I like zombie movies. I like action movies. What the heck is the problem with this one? Well, I just guessed the only good character is Dave Bautista's character. I cannot remember the name. I think the story is a unique story, but it just seems to drag on and have all the same problems. I don't know, just the way they play it out. I guess it gets a C plus. Now I do like uh mm, that guy Sebastian's character, and so it gets a C plus. Next is Fear Street Part One. Um, I know lots of people. This is the least favorite, but I think they introduce everyone so well in this movie, and the kills, the villain, the story, the characters. Good horror movie, in my opinion. I will not strangle anyone for thinking this is the worst. I get to B minus. Next is the Wrong Turn. Okay, I know a lot of people out there hate this movie, but being the first of the franchise that I've seen, I thought it was a good horror movie, and it scared the crap out of me like no other movie has. Maybe it's just how that I spend lots of time in the woods at our grandparents' house. And let me tell you, if you're out in the middle of the woods at night, even with someone else, and you watch this movie, it'll be crossing your mind. Especially since I not live too far away from the Appalachian Trail. It gets a B minus. Still staying on the topic of horror, I will talk about A Boy Called Christmas. Definitely horror, 100% horror. I mean, oh my gosh, not really horror, but a really good Christmas film. I mean, not a very good Christmas film. I mean, his adventures are cute. In the middle of the elf village is good. The ending's bad, but that's just the thing. It's just cute. B minus. Next up is Willy's Wonderland. I was excited for this movie, and when it came out, oh boy, it was some fun. Nick Cage action. I wouldn't say it's that scary, but definitely worth a watch. This is definitely filling from the FNAF movie, and we're not filling in for the FNAF movie, and we're not supposed to have that we're not supposed to. They were supposed to have, but we do not have. So it gets a B minus. Next is Fatherhood. I watched this movie and felt satisfied. Not necessarily an awesome movie, just a nice Kevin Hart funny movie. It made sense. It got a little bit boring, but still worth a watch. A B minus. Next, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with this, but Godzilla vs Kong. Yeah, we got this movie, and I was excited to watch it until I got let down. Maybe Godzilla vs Kong fighting scenes were cool and the characters were good, but it just wasn't what I expected. With the just seeming lazy. I think that's overrated, but still okay. A B minus. Next is storming outside. So next is Wish Dragon. Oh my gosh, Aladdin ripoff. Yay. The only reason I watched this is because of my brother and sister that for some real reason wanted to watch this. I mean, it turned out to be so nice, charming, and fun with the characters that you can't like and get a little careless at times. This sort of is good and enjoyable. It gets a B. Next is Back to the Outback. I would make a change and say that the Wish Dragon is better than Back to the Outback. I almost honestly thought this was going to be terrible, and it came out as a pleasant surprise. I mean, the characters were annoying, the villain was bad, but it was enjoyable, and turned out to be one of the better Netflix originals of the year. It gets a B. Next is a Quiet Place Part 2. Yes, this movie was about to come out when poof got delayed, and I was sad when that happened, but it was worth the wait. It was more scary and suspenseful than the original, and I love the theme not being in one area for the entire movie like the original. The ending was awesome. It was a good movie, but it did get strange at one point and lost my interest. But a strong B. Next is going to be a very controversial one, but that tons of people hate, but I don't. Is Don't Breathe 2. It's an action-packed, suspenseful horror movie. I do believe that the old man in the original did some pretty messed up things, but in the end, the other people were more messed up than him. One negative is that the plot twist really doesn't work for me. It's kind of dumb and wrong, but the rest of the movie makes up for that. It gets a B. Next is the first Marvel film on this list. Being Marvel is pretty good, and it is Black Widow. Black Widow. I do like the action in this movie and the characters, not the villain. And the end was okay, but Red Guardian and just Marvel doing their stuff, doing their thing, makes up for that. It gets a B. Next is Dune. I've already made a full review on this, like almost 10 minutes long, so you can watch that. I'm a fan of the original movie and the book, and more importantly, the lore to the movie. And let me say, the visuals are freaking amazing. You see the sets and sand and the action, the spaceships and worms, amazing. I made a full review, so if you really want to hear about this video, listen to my review. I do think the action in this movie itself takes a break, and the whole movie just takes a break, but it deserved that, and so and it really doesn't explain anything that might be a problem to anyone that's not a Dune fan, so it gets a B plus. Next is a good action movie called Nobody. It's an action-packed movie with fight after fight, and it never lets you down. One funny thing about this movie is that I first watched this movie thought it was going to be a Liam Neeson, but apparently it's a Bob Endenrick. Everyone thought this was going to be a John Wick Nobody, but it's definitely not a John Wick Nobody. I'm good at cringy jokes. Next is an actual Liam Neeson movie. It just happened to fall right below this one that I thought was a Liam Neeson movie. Look how similar they look. Anyways, the Ice Road. Liam Neeson is always cool in his movies, but and seems to fit in any character he plays, and this is no exception. There's good action, suspense, and not that many dumb choices. And the villain never gives up. Like, oh my gosh, it gets a B plus. Next is an animated Disney movie, Encanto, or Encanto. I mean, the trailers for this movie look bad, but the movie is actually good. The songs are peak Disney songs. Characters are likable. Bruno is my favorite. Actually, Bruno is the best part about this movie, and the whole movie is set in this one house, which I love. But you don't ever see the villains, so it gets a B plus. Next is a weird Netflix movie that I only watched because of my brother, and I thought it was going to be terrible, and it's a stop motion kind of Netflix movie called Steel Team. It's sort of a stop motion anime movie, and it started off bad, but then the sharks came along, and the story just started to get better, and there was some suspense and enjoyment. It gets a B plus. The next B plus movie is Army of Thieves. Unlike Army of the Dead, this movie has three good characters that you care about, and the plot worked a lot for me. And the twist. Sebastian's funny. The robbery scenes are great. The suspense builds up okay. Maybe the antagonist, not the main one though, isn't the best. But the detectives are funny. A B plus all day. We're moving into our A category with Sing 2. I loved the first Sing movie and thought it was funny, charming, and timeless. But when I saw the trailer for the second one, I thought looked underwhelming, and the movie actually turned out to be a pleasant surprise. Not as good as the original by all means, but good in its own way. Lots of people hate the stuff leading up to the performance, but that's the only stuff I cared about, and not the show. I cared about all of it in the original, though. It gets a low A minus. Next in our category is the Clifford the Big Red Dog movie. Lots of people do not like this movie, but I found it funny, fun to watch, and just altogether a fun movie. Like the whole movie was just something that made me smile. Not like a massive multi-million dollar Marvel movie, but just a good family film. An A minus. Next is Mortal Kombat. As a big fan of video games, not mainly the original three, I was excited to hear about a new MK movie. And this one did not let me down. The action is amazing, best of the whole franchise. The fight sequences are the best, and the trailer. I thought this movie was going to be a little better than the '95 movie, and it is. So it gets an A minus. Next is a Pixar movie, Luca. I saw the trailer for this movie, and I was hooked. As a lover for animated films, especially Pixar, I saw this movie and liked it. The characters were good, the suspense was good, and it just seemed like a simple but good Pixar film. It gets a solid A minus. Next is the end of a franchise, No Time to Die. With No Time to Die, of one of the three James Bond movies I've seen, out of Doctor No, Goldfinger, and No Time to Die, I do know what's happened in all the other ones, so don't be yelling at me about that. I love the action. Villain was okay, and it just seemed like a good James Bond adventure. Action was absolutely amazing, and going place to place and all over the world with emotional scenes and plot twists. Solid A minus. Next is Jungle Cruise. I'll just be totally honest. This movie would have sucked without Dwayne Johnson. I'm gonna be like, the man is an amazing actor and is funny and has good action and just a good adventure. The villains weren't the best, not even good in my opinion, but if you really don't care about why they went into the jungle in the first place, you just care about Dwayne Johnson. It gets an A minus. Next is the one movie that I thought was gonna be okay, but the trailers looked bland, and that was Ghostbusters Afterlife. Need some water. Is 100% not that. The opposite. It's funny, suspenseful, somewhat, and is memorable. It's so memorable. It is a good movie, and Paul Rudd is great acting. Whoever plays podcast should get a shout out. Great movie. Cannot recommend it more. Strong A minus. Next is a movie that I thought was going to be very good, but not going to be very good. But I was very wrong. It was the 11th before I get into the top 10. So this video is about to get shorter. It is Cruella. It's funny as crap. It has great characters, seems so epic, had an amazing plot twist, should be classified as an epic movie. And how did Disney do a such good job a movie about a villain? I thought that the thing that was Marvel. I thought that this was marvelous thing, and watch it now. It gets an A minus. Now moving on to the top 10 with Vivo. I'm sorry. I am being way too kind to this movie. But it felt so heartwarming, and the character development is good, and it's sort of funny, and it has a story that you care about. It gets an A. Next is the best Disney animated movie of last year. Last year, because it's 2022. It is Raya and the Last Dragon. I am so sorry, guys, that lots of people hate this movie. This movie is so underrated and is a great adventure and has two laughs, and you want to see them go to another city or find another problem, and so they can do this timeless, amazing, and do something else amazing with this movie. It might sort of be forgettable, but nevertheless an amazing movie. A all the way. Next is another Netflix movie. Sorry, but I always try to cram lists full of Netflix movies. Yesterday is an amazing psychological thriller with horrifying scenes and visuals. No, not really though. This movie has a good plot. It's funny and explores so many things about the plot that you can imagine. And that's a good family movie. For some reasons, I forget that. For some reasons, I always get this mixed up with Instant Family, which is a bit better. It gets an A. Next is an Amazon Prime original. I never would have expected this to be this high in the list. Oh my gosh, I love The Tomorrow War. Chris Pratt is really good. The monster fights are peak. The ending was not the best, but the action made up for it, and the acting and budget makes you of this movie are great. Gets an A plus, 100%. Next is Ron's Gone Wrong. I love this movie. You'll die laughing, and can get invested in the story, and the ending's good, and the characters are good too. Just really a fun, enjoyable movie. Gets an A. Moving on to the top 5 now, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I was excited for this movie and expect it to be your typical ninja movie, but it was more than throwing in some great jokes and amazing fight scenes. The plot twists are good, and the end was hidden from all the trailers. The movie was just a wow movie, and there was even one mythical creature that I recognized, the Hundun. Gets an A. The fourth best movie of last year is Free Guy. Ryan Reynolds is an amazing actor, and it's funny as crap. This movie is no exception. It makes me laugh so many times that with Ryan Reynolds and Taika Waititi. Is if that's how you say it? And the video game part of this movie is well made. The action is good, and the ending too. Nothing to not like. And it gets an A every day. Next up is the top 3. Next up in the top 3 best movies of last year, and they are no shockers at all. Number 3 is The Suicide Squad. This movie is so cool. All the characters are better than 2016's. The fighting scenes are amazing. Harley Quinn, King Shark steal the show from me, but Idris Elba's, or however you say it, character is not bad either. It isn't the worst Deadshot replacement. The villain's good and it's funny as heck. Not to mention the R rating. What do I have to say more? An A, of course. Number 2 is Spider-Man No Way Home. This movie is great. The visuals, the epic theme, and humor. Not to spoil anything, but the ending is insane and sets up a ton of future stuff. Maybe one bad part is that seems a little epic movie and doesn't care about the story and rushes it. If you want a full 17-minute spoiler review, go ahead and watch it on my YouTube channel. It's a strong, super strong A. On the number one movie of last year, meaning the very best out of all 54 or something movies I saw last year. This is the best. It is Thunder Force. Thunder Force. Wow. How does anyone compete with this movie? The Lobster is almost as Shrek. As Shrek. No, I would not do that to you. It's really the Mitchell versus the Machine. What is not to love about this movie? The action is good. The family story is also good. The comedy is amazing and is one of the funniest anime movies ever. Without the comedy, really though, it would not be that good. I still do not know what is up with the license plate though. 7M24JSG. I thought it was supposed to be a joke. Especially the father. The ending wasn't the very best, but the plot is suspenseful somewhat, and it's such a fun anime adventure. It barely gets past with the highest rating. It's an A plus, just in my opinion. Hope you agree. Please like and subscribe. Bye. Oh, I need some more.